We're live. I wanted to jump on and chat a little bit about this full moon and specifically being in Pisces and Neptune. I want to talk more about that. I'm on a little bike ride. I hope you guys don't mind. Let's chat. Because Neptune can get kind of interesting. And I want to talk conceptually about what is it that, we're really looking at when we are looking at Neptune. What is it that we're really looking at? And right now we're not looking at much, but hopefully you can still hear me. When we scale it down, Neptune is water energy. Neptune is the ruler of the 12th house. Neptune is, but is not. That is the power and the magic of Neptune. I want to talk about the shadow, though, of Neptune, because this is where it can get really tricky when we have a lot of Neptune, which we do have. We just talked about this week. And with the full moon being in Pisces, the way you'll know if you're balanced with your Neptune energy is if you are feeling empowered by your ability to introspect with your empathic abilities, your creative talents. Are these things that you feel are serving you, or are they so-called getting the best of you? And, the cool thing about Neptune is that we can more easily transcend between dimensions of where we believe we exist on this plane. We can absolutely shapeshift with Neptune energy. We can also, though, sometimes feel a little lost there as well. Right? You can kind of get lost in the so-called illusion. Right? When we don't have boundaries. Even if it is with the mind, right? We can get lost in our imagination, we can get lost in our thoughts and our feelings. Sometimes it's like, wait, is this what I'm experiencing? Or is it what, he, she, they, it is experiencing? Sometimes we can get kind of lost in that who am I sort of question. Can you guys hear me? So it can sometimes feel like a weird time. The higher expression of Pisces is intuition. Okay, when you're feeling your intuition, when you're feeling intuitive, and you're not second guessing your intuition, that's obviously not to say that you don't want to balance and think, in all forms of, your story, mind, body, soul. But when you're in a space where you're not afraid to honor your intuition, that's where we are really in the light with our Neptune. That is the empowered Neptune. So yeah, sometimes the issue with Pisces is that we can lose our focus or concentration. And the thing about Neptune is that it can be very subtle. the way that takes place. It's not the dynamism of Virgo of the mind, of Gemini of the mind, where, it's more like, oh my God, I got so many thoughts. And then you can kind of just easily put them all down on a piece of paper and just, organize the chaos. With Neptune, it's something that creeps in. It can. And that's where we do have thoughts, but they're more astrally minded. They're sort of in the astral body. So they're the thoughts of the astral body. So it's a time where you want to definitely reflect on how it is that you feel you're experiencing this cycle. I personally wouldn't do anything kind of crazy around a full moon, regardless, but also just in Pisces, I definitely wouldn't go and rendezvous I'm hearing in the ocean. I don't know what take it as you will. Like, that could be a metaphor, but if especially you can get ungrounded. I wouldn't do Neptunian things, especially Neptunian. Well, let's give an example. Okay, well, what is drugs? Neptune rules drugs. It rules intoxicants, hallucinogenics. It can, right? But we can really look at anything like that. It's where you take yourself in that space, right? It's the power in a way of your imagination, of your mind. But sometimes that can kind of feel derailing, right? Again, that's where it comes down to balance. Is your imagination balanced with your mind, with your body? Are you feeling grounded? Are you able to take what you're feeling and really manifest with that in a grounded space? Even just look at the video camera style here we got going on. We're literally bobbing in and out. It's like waves, So, but getting back to it, Neptune rules stepping out of the so-called perceived space of where we are at, releasing boundaries. But it's also the reminder of, which is really beautiful here with Pisces, is that all other colors exist. All other frequencies exist, all other signs exist. To have that, we must have boundaries. To have started the 12th house, we needed to have boundary into the 12th house and out of the 12th house. So we do exist in a limitless state. And in Pisces, it's a reminder of that. But there are still other frequencies that help us remember Pisces itself. So boundaries are actually quite important to bring context to the magic, right? The potential space of Pisces, which is the Jupiter Neptune frequency, right? Where Pisces lives in the imaginative, anything can be, and so. But I personally wouldn't explore anything new when it comes to the more sort of shadow side potentials of Neptune. I personally would just kind of observe what comes up more so, especially because we are in a heavy retrograde season. We do have, all retrograde, generational planets retrograde. And we do have Mercury in pre-shadow. So this is more a time where, and coupling that with the full moon, in a sign that rules the past, in a sense, or at least review, right? The 12th house being encapsulating that story of the zodiac signs and bring them together. It doesn't mean that Pisces is the only, but it's really a time where things may come up. And we want to be gentle with ourselves. We want to be gentle with others. There may be things that we realize, wow, you know what, maybe I wasn't gentle with myself in that area of life, or, I didn't really have healthy boundaries there, or I didn't really say what I felt, or I didn't really do what I needed to do for me. It's a time where we will realize. It's more realization, I think, but I always take it as you will. a time of realization, or at least it may be conducive for, right? Conducive is a time for realization of what it is that we may have called out, but realizing further than now why. And so the interesting part is that the full moon is not necessarily just observing, but of manifesting. The full moon is just as much of the state of the new moon. You really cannot just see it as like just full moon or just new moon, right? Just how we cannot get to Aries without getting through Pisces, and vice versa. So where we begin, we end, and where we so-called end, we so-called begin again. There is this notion, okay, of resetting in every moment of awakening, which is always consciousness, and the reinstating of it never begins or never ends indefinitely. This is what I'm hearing. So what I'm getting here now is that it's a time where we are really going to be looking at, seeing clearly, reflecting on, well, and more so the more we meditate, the more we use this time to really get our vision clear of what we've been seeing. And Pisces energy is that mastery potential, again, in the higher form of seeing. Let's clear it around. Can you guys hear me? It's really loud here. So it's an illusion that it's like, oh man, I just gotta like see what comes up. No, every moment, just as every birth chart is different, okay, every moment is a reconfiguration of how we perceived ourselves in the so-called past. These types of things, it's quite fascinating because it was about around the new moon in Pisces. Yes, that I think it actually rules pandemics, but it was in that reading, the reading new moon in Pisces, where the theme of Corona did come up. So I think it's a great time to reflect on where you do already, let's say, channel this energy. We all channel every frequency regardless. Even people who believe I'm just an Aries. I don't have any Virgo. I don't have Virgo in my chart. I'm just an Aries, and I'm just gonna be an Aries all day long, all night long, all morning long. Okay. It's an illusion that you're not channeling that frequency. How can you have one constellation without having all other constellations? You know what I'm saying? That's again that focus on Pisces, even as Pisces, which is the boundless state in a sense, requires 11 other signs to be the 12th. Every sign needs a reflection point, and everything is reflective. The beauty of the birth chart. Everything is necessary, and let it be the blessings of Pisces to bring this concept forth now. But it isn't, every energy is reflecting. It's like, how do we say, even in the birth chart, right? It's truly hard for me sometimes to think, what is the factor at play here in this person, let's say, current disposition? What is can we really pinpoint it to one thing? Okay, even in the aspects, it's like, let's take an example. Let's say you got a square in your birth chart. Let's say sun, square, moon, okay? Okay, so fine. We'll look at the sun. We'll look at the moon. We will claim that they are supposedly squaring, right? But I would take a step further. We have to look further at the story of the moon, and we have to look further at the story of the sun, right? So we're looking at the sun, we're looking at the moon. They have their independent stories as well, but they all circle back in a way. It's again an illusion that it's so separate, and which is why I get kind of frustrated when people talk about astrology from like sun sign and yada yada perspective, and even in we really deduce these sort of moments in the birth chart, we'll call them, to just time and space in that moment and say, oh, Venus in Virgo means this, Sun in Virgo means, it's like, how do we, no, everything is related. So to understand what's going on, we have to look at it all together. The sun will eventually circle back to the moon and back to the sun itself, and then it comes back down with astrology to how you channel that energy. That's kind of what defines what it is altogether. So we have to be brave in understanding that we do have also leadership when it comes to who we are. A beautiful lesson of Pisces as well. Sometimes it can be hard, especially if you're like, yo, bro, like, I see we're all like one and we're all connected. And then it's like, wait, but like, all right, I really want that flavor potato chips, but he said he doesn't. And so, all right, we're all one. Let me just like, that is where the illusion of Pisces is, where it starts to poke a little hole in your Aries boat. That's where we have to have the balance of all elements. It's the storytelling of the zodiac, right? Just making sense? Regardless, right? We're all here to tell it in our own way. So now let's get back to it here in Neptune, because yes, we all have every energy. We all will be channeling every frequency regardless, but it's a wonderful time to see, have I been remembering myself in what I remind others of? This, I believe, as a light worker, is a constant, almost. It is a conversation that has to be interesting. Has to be. Okay. If we, as a doctor, lose ourselves in the patient and the patient's story, how can we go on? In other words, does it mean to just, be a light worker or to be an empathic person, that we just have to just feel and end where we feel? That is the detriment of Neptune in shadow, and that's the sad, sometimes story where you hear of people, it's sad. So it is a house of self-undoing. So if, but that can be in any shape and form, right? That can be, damn, in this little moment here, did I kind of not acknowledge myself? Did I sacrifice myself? What happened? Was I empowered truly? Did I remember myself in myself, right? So the magic really is in seeing yourself in everything that you see around you that is of you and that you are related to in some sense, transcendentally. But then also, how do you still take on action and leadership in that space? I'm seeing a yellow Corvette here that could be a message for some. It's a little abstract, guys, but this is my moon inside being like, hey, I'm still here. I know it's like, yeah, Pisces sun, the moon in Pisces, but I'm also still here. Moon inside. Yeah, that's just, yeah. Get all philosophical about it, but yeah. Pisces. That's where we gotta really, remember also the macro image at times. Sometimes it's also about just the perspective. It's not so much what it is or what it's not, but it's the perspective. Are we in balance with our perspective? Right? And so we make things what they are. That's also, yeah. But we definitely have a shadow of Neptune, and that is that we don't see ourselves in the story. And it's kind of like, I imagine it as, let's say you're an entrepreneur, and you're the entrepreneur of your life, right? When you were born, you decided to start the enterprise that is you, the being that is you. And so, in a sense, right, you have a responsibility. You're sort of like the CEO of your story, right? In that space, You have to ask yourself, am I treating myself as I would a so-called employee? Okay, what I'm doing to myself to an employee. Okay, well, it's not. You definitely operate as a shadow energy of Neptune. It's not better. It is definitely not better. It's not like, oh my God, I'm so selfless. That's an illusion. That's an illusion that is what takes you to your story. That's a passivity. That's a passivity where, oh, I'm gonna help others more and not complain and not make, that's where we're not really being selfless. Because if you bring it back to the unity consciousness mentality of Neptune, we say all are one, right? So yeah, that's where we say, well, oops, how did I just put myself out of that equation? No, come back. Do that one again, Is that making sense? Can you guys still hear me? So, that's where we all may run away in that space. But the thing is that Neptune is shiftable. The thing you want when you know that you are out of balance with Neptune is to ground, because it is so much perspective. Let's clear it and ground. That's the upside, is that it's kind of, think like a fish, right? It's, you can just swim here, swim there. When you have a plan with how to address the mutability factor, that's where you can really create with it. Look, water is powerful, right? Think about the ocean waves. God forbid they can kill people. they can destroy cities. Think about tidal waves, tsunamis. When the force of water is enough in a particular direction, you can manage and remanage your story again. So you can regenerate, you can heal, you can reimagine and re-reflect your reality. The power of the imagination. So if you have a lot of water in your chart, it's not a weakness. Don't think of it as a weakness, but it does come down to your responsibility to challenge yourself to reimagine itself, that capability of yours. You guys hear me? I have leather bag. That's funny. So, wow. About to just, yeah, see, this is where we gotta have our balance. We gotta have our balance. We gotta have, and that's the thing. Neptune can be so, like, you won't know when you're in the Neptunian fog, y'all. That is the thing. That can be tricky. That's where you want to have really good friends as well. Really good grounding energies here around you. Nature is your friend, you guys, as well. Let it speak to you. Let it help you in that space. You always take it as you will, though. Okay, but ground. Find context too. That is the true desire of Pisces, to find context to its passion. That's why they say, Pisces energy does quite well with the element of earth, because it is complementary. And aha, that is where, you guys, that is where it comes back around to that conversation we were having. It's making more sense now. That comes back to the someone said, am I driving? Bro, can you imagine? Yo. Yeah. That what were we saying? That is right. So remember we were talking about this? We were like, is Pisces and Pisces or Pisces and Scorpio, Pisces and Cancer, like water energy for water energy, like really the best match? It's like not necessarily. Okay. Because think about it, it's like waves upon waves. Okay. Sometimes what you need is more. I'm just imagining if I was driving like this. Imagine what would this look like? My phone would literally be on like a string hanging out the window. All right, let's put it. Like waves upon waves. But sometimes what is helpful is to find context, even for a bit of time, right? To give context to what it is that you really want to manifest, because you have to be careful when you got a lot of water energy. You want to make sure you are, especially if it is Pisces Scorpio, or that could be with that part of your chart. Maybe you're like, hey, I need a break from the Scorpio part of my chart, or I need to be wise with how I want to interact with that energy archetype. Okay. And even if you're dealing with a so-called Scorpio, they are reflecting your Scorpio energy as well. So that's where you gotta really remember, like, it's not just about so-called this and that, or this person and that person, but a reflection of how I work with that melody in my own story, my own song. How do I want it to sound in my song and in my story? So yeah, it is about finding purpose. So it doesn't mean that anything is bad, right? It's not like, oh my god, like Scorpios aren't good for Pisces or whatever. No, there are no absolutes. But what I'm saying in terms of like the frequency space is that you can have Pisces and Scorpio, this is very strong, and the imagination is very strong. Sometimes I feel you will have really strong karmic connections. It will feel very intense, but you know, what are you creating? Sure, it can feel intense. Okay, sure, it can be like, oh my god, this person's perfect for me. But it's like, are you guys really manifesting what you want? Sometimes you have to separate from someone you do feel very much a strong connection to, so you can understand further what it is that you're really wanting to create. Are we feeling a little bit bike sick? Are we feeling kind of so? Yeah, bump, 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 bump. Is it feeling very bumpy, you guys? Oh my god. Indiana Jones. But yeah, in case you were wondering, this is what it feels like to be a Pisces sometimes. I'm just trying to show you in a simulated fashion reality. This is what it can feel like. All right. It's like, but again, you have the power to reimagine your story. Now, Pisces also rules past lives. It rules the past. It rules, you know, and so sometimes the trouble is you're an, you know, you have an old soul, very old soul energy. Sometimes it's like you can get really, you got a lot of energy you're working with in this dimension, so it can feel overwhelming. And so sometimes you have trouble sifting through realities. How many of you have had that trouble? Oh no, you're getting nauseous about that? Oh no. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys. You want to see the grass instead? I don't know. Oh no. Careful. Careful, guys. so, yes. So know that as someone, this is what I want to say. Like as somebody who has a lot of Pisces, I'm just feeling the Virgos in the chat. Say something, Natalie. Finally, come on, we're waiting. Say something. Just been talking for like 8 years. You've been just talking. No, come on. Let's clear around. Calm down, Virgo. Sun is currently also getting very strong in Virgo. Strong in Virgo. And that can be kind of frustrating. Oh, you guys, can you give me a second here? I need to drop off. I need to drop off the bike. Everyone's like, thank God. Oh, man. You guys are like, I much rather prefer the robe reading. Ah, okay. Hey, guys. What I want to say is that $1.50 seems overcharging me. All right, let's continue. All right. So, what were we saying? I felt kind of nauseous too. That ride was a little, woo. Okay, but yeah, but so if you have a lot of Pisces in your chart, to say in this way, what you come when we have these cycles where we've got a lot of Pisces, like for now example now, the full moon in Pisces, etc. Sometimes you're not just feeling it's your archetype of Pisces coming up. So sometimes it's not just that you're feeling the present moment reality, right? I mean, you could be feeling again like past lives. So it's to say, if you've got a lot of, I'm hearing Scorpio in your chart as well. Yeah, definitely. So I want to get into the chat though. How are you guys doing? Yeah, I mean, this is tomorrow's future now. It's clearing around. Uh, yes, and we were talking about this earlier today. Like, it's ultimately helpful, I think. It's meant to be helpful. Like, Neptune and all cycles are meant to be helpful, but it can feel intense. That's where you want to be aware of your birth chart, because when we have really intense alignments, like, for example, especially when we've got trines, where we've got 3 or 4 planets in the same sign, where we've got full moons, new moons, or planets even cycling out of a sign, getting really strong in the degree of that sign. It can really, really hit a raw nerve. So you want to know what's going on in your personal birth chart. It can be though bringing it up intensely here for you. It's a moment of, especially when the planet's at 29 degrees, really a moment of purging, clearing out, cleansing. That's not always easy. Whoever's done a detox knows that it's not always easy to detox. So sometimes, we have an expectation of what's coming. And then, it's like, wow, wait, I'm actually detoxifying other things too. It's clearing around. So it's a so-called digestive track of these different archetypes that we flush out, so-called we flush through when we move through the signs with the planets. Does that make sense? And ultimately it's related, I believe, to ascension. So we actually do have one more day left of the sun in Virgo. And so for those of you who have a lot of Virgo, know that this is real intense with Virgo energies. Look at your birth chart, see where you've got the 29th degree of Virgo. And where you have Virgo overall, that might be a part of the chart that's really coming under the point of review, microscope in a sense as well, especially further because it is Virgo. Attention details. Oh, thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow's future now. Thank you for the donation. That's so very kind. $22 on the dock. Love and light. Now we'll do lunch. So, yeah, well, thank you guys for your support here at the channel. And those of you who are joining in members, thank you guys for your support there as well, as it does help. Everything does contribute. Interesting, Vesna. Where is your Virgo? Vesna says, detoxing society's projections of me. Wow. Wow, wow. Very cool. Let's play around. So where is your Virgo in your birth chart? If you don't mind me asking, if you want to share. And yeah. Oh. Interesting. That's very interesting. It's kind of like, so if your Mars is in Virgo, it's kind of like you got an ascendant rising Virgo, kind of. Mars is the ruler of the first house. So the way I see it is like the planets are kind of like representatives. They're kind of like diplomats, They go to other countries, so-called, and they represent their original frequency. So Mars is let's say, the diplomat of the first house. It is the representative of the first house. It's like international relations. Okay. So it's interesting to see it from that standpoint. Mars still represents the first house. So when it goes over to Virgo's place, okay, it's still talking about Mars stuff, but it's concentrating through the lens of Virgo. I feel like people are staring at me. All right. But it's cool. It's like, whatever. I don't need to be what they project on me, right? That's what Vesna was just talking about. All right, guys. Well, this was really cool. I hope you did enjoy. You guys feeling nauseous back there a little bit, but at least we got out. It's cleared around. You guys enjoy your day, your Sunday. We're going to talk more on 48-hour members. And yeah, hope to see